Welcome back to the reality recap. This week, I am not only sick of this weather out here in Canada, I'm sick of these people. The chaos this week has actually been just insane. I'm ready to go into it. This review might be more of like a rant than a review, but I'm still ready to get into it. So we're going to pick up where we left off with the whole Harriet, Ronnie, Ron situation. So, of course, as we know, Ronnie was having like a little temper tantrum because Harriet didn't pick him. And the craziest thing for me, which is on brand for Ronnie, but I'm gobsmacked at the fact that he even said it. He said, "Oh, this must be revenge." How self-centered must you be to believe that somebody not picking you must be out of revenge? What if she genuinely wants to give herself a chance? And I think that a part of Harriet knows that being with Ronnie is just going to be a continuous cycle of whatever toxicity they've been experiencing for however long they've been together. Because we know they're not in a relationship, but they're not a showmance either, but they're not dating. It's confusing. So I'm here just like, Ronnie's mentality is actually so warped. He thinks that everything Harriet does must be a direct correlation to how she feels about him. And although a part of it might be true, the fact that he voiced it was just insane to me. I don't want to use the N word and say that he's a narcissist. That's a little bit extreme, but definitely self-absorbed, which I'm not surprised by. So it's starting to get around that Ron is not actually into Harriet like that. And I'm not going to lie. Later on, Harriet says that it's muggy for him to say that to her ex, which is true. So Ron is opening up about the fact that he's not really keen on Harriet like that. But I mean, he's still fresh in the villa. She's the new bombshell of the villa. He might as well get to know her. After that conversation, I feel like that's when Ronnie decided, oh, I'm going to lay it on thick with this girl. So he goes and he tells her, listen, it's always been you. He's been saying this for a while. It's always been you. I've always had feelings for you. I don't know about you guys, but for me, if it has always been me, I would feel like it will always be me. So on the outside or during their first time in the villa, I would feel like it is always me. You just saying it and me not seeing the result of that, I don't believe you. But this is the spiel that he always gives Harriet. And at this point in the episode, she was kind of like, you could see her kind of folding, but she's not fully giving him what he wants as of yet, right? So it is getting around that Ron isn't really feeling Harriet like that. She did have a conversation with him. It was kind of chill. It wasn't really flirty or anything. But at that point, she didn't know. So when she did know, she went to Ron and she was like, hey, I don't appreciate that you're having these conversations and you're not coming to me to tell me like what's up. Interesting that she said that, because around the same time, Ronnie was going to, I think it was Kaz and Marcel, and he was saying, you know, like, I love the girl. I'm in love with the girl. I know that doesn't sound like a big deal. But for me personally, if I've been doing this back and forth thing with this guy and he's able to tell other people that he loves me and he can't tell me that he loves me, that's going to be a problem. Are we able to actually hash out our issues? Are we able to openly communicate with each other? Are we able to share the good things and the bad things? And with Ronnie and Harriet, it doesn't seem like they're able to do that as of yet. There was even a moment where they were talking about what they did during their time apart. And she said, yeah, I did see other people. And he nearly kicked off. And I'm thinking, Ronnie, no, you don't have the luxury of being upset with Harriet because you guys weren't in a relationship, which you love to say time and time again. He can't now be like, you saw other people. Of course he's going to be upset. It's like one of those situations where a guy will cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat, and a girl will just flirt and he has a cow about it. Like the standards, the double standards are crazy. And Ronnie for a moment was going to teeter that line, but eventually he dialed it back, and I'm like, good, because you know damn well you don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to this topic. Even on top of that topic too, I think they had a conversation where he said that she had also made a mistake, and I'm like, are we gonna get into it? What did she do? What happened? Because we know Ronnie was kissing and flirting and doing whatever with other people while they were together. But it sounds like Harriet was doing some stuff as well at the beginning of their relationship. She says that she did that out of spite. Again, is this the kind of toxic, like back and forth we want to be a part of? I don't know. But anyways, I say all that to say she had an issue with Ron having conversations that obviously needed to be between her and Ron, whereas she allows Ronnie to really express himself with other people, but doesn't pull him up on that same thing. I think that it is just as important for Ronnie to have those unfiltered, candid conversations with Harriet so that she knows where he stands, he knows where she stands, and they can actually start from like a blank slate. They can start fresh. Because right now, the baggage that they're carrying into, I don't know if it'll lead to them having a long relationship, if that is what they want when the season is over. So moving on from them for a minute, we have Montel, Kaz, and Catherine. This little triangle was quite frustrating for me. I can't even say that it's a triangle because Montel dipped immediately. So Catherine was listening to Montel's speech and she thought, that he was talking about her. So did I. Oh, I've had my eye on this girl for so long and whatever. She's a cool girl, whatever. And because he said like, oh, I'm still open, I really thought that he was going to go for Catherine. Not that I had faith in Montel, but just basing it off of his words, it sounded like he would pick Catherine. So Catherine goes and she's like, hey, I thought you were talking about me. And I'm thinking, oh, Catherine, please don't do this. Please don't do this. I love Catherine. Let me tell you the things I love about Catherine. Number one, she's actually just a gorgeous girl. I think that she's a girl's girl as well. She always has the girls back. She's a yapper like me. That ain't no problem. Okay. Y'all are listening to me yap. So clearly I don't have an issue with being a yapper. She's also a yapper. But I think sometimes she says just a little bit too much. And I was thinking like, you don't have to lie. I do appreciate the fact that she's true to herself. She's true to her emotions. But I was like, why are you giving Montel the satisfaction of saying, oh, I thought you were talking about me? Like it borderlines looking like a beg. And I don't think that she had crossed that line yet. But I was like, girl, it is Montel. Do not tell this man you wanted him to pick you and you thought it was you that he was like, Don't let him have the satisfaction. So on to Montel and Kaz. This man is laying it on thick with Kaz. I do think that, Kaz is a stunner, let's be honest. I do think that he's genuinely into her, but I side-eye Montel a little bit. So there was one conversation they had and he's like, do you think that you're soft or something along those lines? And she was like, well, a certain guy will bring out a softness out of me, which I absolutely think is true. One thing that I say all the time, because these people on the internet like to say, get a woman who submits. Your woman must submit. Are you submittable? Because I ain't submitting to nobody who's not worth submitting to. I'm not going to be soft to a man who doesn't allow me to be soft in his presence, you know? So when she said that, I was like, I 100% relate. But the irritation that I had with Montel asking that was because just be that guy and she will be the kind of girl, well, this is not a guarantee, but she's given more space to be that soft girl that is in her that she's saying could come out with the right guy. I just found it kind of weird that he was like looking for that. And he's like, oh, sometimes it's hard to read you. Like, I just want you to be soft. I want you to be in your princess era or whatever. Well, be a prince, be a king. You know, like be that strong guy so she can be that soft girl. Don't be asking for it. Just be that guy. So yeah, the whole Montel, Kaz, Catherine thing, honestly, I'm glad that Catherine just kind of fell back after that whole situation. He's clearly more focused on Kaz. Whatever. You do you, boo. So they end up playing Truth or Dare. This Truth or Dare definitely took a turn that I did not expect at all. Actually, let me give you some background before we get into the Truth or Dare. So Scott has been thinking, and it's a problem when Scott starts to think because he starts to spiral. So Scott was thinking that maybe things just aren't quite there with Tina. Something is missing. I cannot help but think that he messed things up with India. Yes, it was a short time that they were together. Yes, we didn't even get to see much of them. But from the time that Ekin-Su was like, oh yeah, Tina brings something out of Scott, I'm like, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. I definitely saw more chemistry between him and India. Now, I do feel like eventually he would have just been wasting India's time because it seems like that's what Scott does, waste people's time. But I definitely saw a lot more energy from him with her than him with Tina. So he's now starting to vent to the guys like, hey, I'm not really sure if it's quite there for me. I'm feeling a lot of pressure. And let's sit on the pressure conversation. It wasn't too long ago that in one of the games, Luca called out Scott saying, I think that you're vanilla or whatever. And he took offense to that because he said, listen, I think he's 36. He's like, I'm 36, you're 25. The stakes are different for me. I'm actually looking for something serious. I'm looking for something long-term, whatever. So now this man is talking about, oh, I'm feeling the pressure. What pressure? Pressure from who? Pressure from what? I haven't seen Tina press him about anything, so I don't even know what pressure he's talking about. But if you're 36 and you're claiming to come into the villa looking for something serious, looking for something long term, I don't even think this pressure thing should be a conversation. Like, you see what you like, you go for it. If you don't like that, you fall back. So he's starting to share these thoughts of not being sure about Tina, and that's going to be important in this game of truth or dare. So let's go through the dares. Ronnie snogs Harriet. The way they kiss cringes me out. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's like a weird baby bird pecking thing, but also they're like swallowing each other. Anyways, let's move on. Then we have Naz, who says he fancies Elma. Since the hell when? Naz is, what did I call him last time? He has the personality of a pineapple. And that is so heartbreaking for me because I promise you from season 6, I loved Naz down. But this time around, he wasn't giving. Then we have Elma, who thinks that Ronnie is a fraud. Girl, welcome to the party. We're so glad to have you. Welcome. We've been knew he was a fraud, girl. Then we have Montel, who thinks that Grace is playing a game. And he says, because you're playing it safe, right? And she's like, well, playing it safe is not playing a game. I always find it funny when people want to like harp on semantics when it comes to this whole like, who do you think is this? Who do you think is that? Because you know what he means by that. If you're playing it safe, it does seem like you're doing something just for the game purposes. But she didn't like that. So he said, fine, let me elaborate more. You clearly have a type and you're not going for that type. I said, oh, well, tell us what the type is, Montel. What's the type, Montel? I feel like we can all infer. We know what he's saying. But I do think that a part of Grace is playing it safe, therefore kind of playing a game. Is she connecting with Luca genuinely? I do think so. But just comparing the guys that she really was drawn to during the last season, I don't know if Luca would have been on that roster for her. You know, she was more into like, well, Joey is a big character. I think with him, it was just like a history thing, but she did like Omar and she did like, what's that guy's name? Ruben. She liked that big guy from Costa Amor. I feel like those guys well, number one, they have one very specific thing in common. You tell me what the common thing is. But outside of that, I don't think that they are on the same level with Luca. It's weird. Not to say that anyone is higher or lower. It's just, they're just on a different plane altogether. So the fact that this time around she's into people like Luca and Casey, it definitely feels like she's playing it safe and therefore playing a game, but she didn't like that. Then we have Tina, who says that she would fancy Luca if not for Scott. At first I was side-eyeing her, but I've been talking to you guys like on the stories recently, and I will admit that Luca has grown on me. I think that he has shown a different level of maturity that I did not expect to see from him. There's also been a lot of vulnerability that's kind of refreshing to see from him as well. So, okay, Tina, I'm not mad at it. Then we have Curtis, who kisses Grace. Interesting that he kisses Grace. I guess that's who he would have gone for if he was given the opportunity to pursue, but he's been focused on Ekin-Su for now. Then we have Scott, who says he would fancy Grace if not Tina. Grace, you could have moved around a little bit more. Like, clearly she had options in this villa, but it's okay. She found her person. Let's stick with that. Then we have Ronnie, who was asked, I think Harriet asked him, what did you say to Kaz and Montel? And at first he was like, oh, I don't really want to say it. You know, I don't want to have to publicize my feelings or whatever. And he eventually says, well, I said that I love you. I kind of feel a way that he was so hesitant to say that. Maybe he wanted it to be an intimate moment between them. And if that's the case, then I'll give it to him. But I'm just like, you are trying to win this girl back from all the transgressions that you have committed so far, all the sins, all the egregious actions. You know what I'm saying? I would scream it from the rooftops. I love this girl. I don't need anybody to question my intentions. I don't need anybody to wonder whether or not I'm serious about this girl. I love her down. I want her, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get her. So I was a little bit like, why are you hesitating right now, Ronnie? No. But Casey thinks that Ron is the fakest. I don't know that I can say that about Ron. But also Ron, he's flying under the radar right now. I wonder if we're going to get to see more of Ron, because right now he's taking a back seat. Ron thinks that Ekin-Su is the bitchiest because she stirs the pot a lot. She's going to keep stirring that pot. We're about to find out what she's been doing this week. Scott starts to ask Grace a truth, but then decides to be respectful, which is where the drama in this episode really pops off. So if I'm to infer what Scott would have asked Grace, I feel like he was going to ask her, if not Luca, who else would you have gone for? Or like kiss a guy who, oh no, it was a truth, right? So I guess you would only have to answer the question. But then Scott was like, I don't want to disrespect Luca. And Luca was like, no, if you have something to say it. And I was thinking, where's this energy coming from? From both sides, because they both started to get a little like riled up. And I'm thinking, I kind of understand what Scott is saying. Like, I respect you as my friend. I don't want to put you in a situation where you start to feel iffy in your relationship, especially at my hands, you know? So I didn't really expect Luca to react in that way. And then when Luca was pressing Scott about the matter, Scott started to buck up. And I said, wait a minute, Scott. I need you to dial it all the way back, because realistically, I don't even know who would win in a brawl between Luca and Scott. Not to say that they should have brawled, because let's not make things physical. It's never that deep. But I'm just like, you better be careful bucking up to certain people. You never know what kind of response you're going to get in return. So I was like, Scott, it's not that deep. And sometimes I feel like Scott tells it himself, because he likes to make it seem like, you know, I'm the old head of the group. Now that Marcel's not here, he's definitely the old head of the group. But I'm like, you're acting really immature right now, considering what is surrounding this situation. Like, it doesn't warrant this response. But yeah, I think that there was a miscommunication on both ends. I don't think that Scott was trying to disrespect Luca. And I think that Luca was feeling a way. Oh yeah, because didn't Scott also say you're insecure? I think what he meant by that is like, you wouldn't be so affected if you were secure in your relationship, but if you say somebody's insecure, they're gonna feel a way about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're gonna have a little bit of tension for a while after that. Then we have Luca, who says that Scott is here for fame. Do you guys think Scott is here for fame? I don't think so. We got a little bit of tea on Scott later, so I don't really know. And then he says that Scott made connections before coming on the show. Ooh, tea. And that he's not really into Tina. Now, this is a horrible way for Tina to find out, because at first she didn't even I don't think she heard what was said. And then after she realized what was said, she was like, wait, is that true? Like, where is this coming from? And so Scott had to own up to the fact that he's wavering on their connection. And of course she got emotional. She stormed off. The girls, listen, I love the girls. I love that you support your girls. But sometimes the girls be making things worse. Like, sometimes y'all be adding fuel to the fire and then fanning the flames as well. Like, it doesn't warrant all of this. So the girls are like, how can he say that? Where is that coming from? Come on. Da-da-da. Like, the girl is crying. The girl just heard some blindsiding information. You could just comfort her right now. Or you could say, well, hold on. Let's listen to Scott. Let's let him explain the situation. Like, maybe Luca misunderstood, or maybe we misunderstood. But it was a lot of rah. It was a lot of heightened emotions. And yeah, she was in a bad way. Ultimately, she did have a conversation with Scott. And Scott did say, I am feeling the pressure. I feel like we're moving really fast. And I don't want to hurt you. I hate that phrase. You know why I hate that phrase? Not hurting me is easy. Not hurting me is easy. You know how you don't hurt me when we're in a relationship? You're open with me. You communicate freely. You don't disrespect me. You're telling me it's hard to do that? You're afraid that you're going to hurt me? Like, hurting me is a choice. Like, you don't have to hurt me. I might have hurt feelings, but inflicting hurt, I feel, is a choice. And once he said that, I'm like, okay, so something is coming where he's obviously going to put Tina in a situation that is undesirable. He might as well bite the bullet now. He might as well tell her, listen, I'm not really feeling you like that. I mean, I thought maybe with the 9 year, I think it was 9 years. I thought with a 9 year gap, we could rekindle something, but I'm just not feeling it. Like something is definitely missing for me. But when Tina says in response, okay, well, I'm just going to pull back a bit. He's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Scott, this was your get out of jail free card. Like she's telling you, okay, I'm going to pull back. No, I don't want you to do that. You want her to do that. You're trying to pull back yourself. I didn't understand what was going on with Scott in these few episodes. He was quite confusing. So of course, like I said, there's tension between Scott and Luca. Luca decides to apologize to Tina the next day, if I'm not mistaken. And he says that he never wants to put a girl in a situation where she's hurt that way. He obviously was affected by Scott's words. If memory serves me, I think he said that Scott like bucking up at him made him get defensive, and he was like, okay, if you go low, I'm gonna take it to hell. And he surely did, but unfortunately Tina was collateral damage in that, right? So he is apologizing to her, and he says, you know, I have sisters and I was raised not to treat girls like that. Now I have to question that a little bit, because if you guys watched Luca's season, there was a portion in time where he and Dami were not the kindest to Tasha, and it became a whole thing. I think even her dad came online and was saying, you know, she used to be mistreated when she was young and stuff. Like it was a whole thing. And so I'm here like, well, Luca, we've already seen a pattern of you not being the best sometimes. And I do understand that sometimes when you have certain people around you, you get carried away and you don't realize that a joke is no longer funny. And I think that's probably what happened. And the same thing that happened in the Vegas game, I think he just got caught up in the moment. So I was kind of giving him a side eye, but I did appreciate that he understands that you don't put women in that kind of position. And so he really did feel sorry, and I believed his apology, and even Tina believed his apology, and so it was happy days for them. Then he and Scott had a conversation, and he gets emotional, and this is the side of Luca that I love to see, like that hard oh, I'm too cool for school type of Luca. I don't resonate with him. Not to say that Luca has to cry, but it is nice to see him just let the guard down, like feel his feelings, express his emotions, whether that's to Grace or to the other guys or to Tina, just whoever. I love seeing this side of him. And so they're basically saying, you know, I respect your friendship. Like we kind of have a brotherhood. I didn't expect things to escalate in that way. Yeah, I did appreciate this conversation that they had. Yeah, it was nice. It was just a nice little pivot. In my mind, it was a pivot for Luca. I might be on the Luca train, the Luca fan train. I don't know that I love him. I'm not a stan as of yet, but he's up there for me. He's getting up there for me as far as the guys are concerned. So let's talk about Casey. Casey and Gabby, they have an interesting conversation, and she says, I'm shy around you. And he's like, why do you have to be like, why are you shy? You don't have to be shy around me. And she says something that I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit concerning for me. She says, you know, I'm shy with guys until I like have sex with them or something like that. I could have misquoted her, but that's what I processed, right? And here's why I feel like it's a little bit harmful to have that kind of mentality. So with every person where you feel like maybe there's a little bit of uncomfortability, to break that uncomfortability, you're going to engage with them sexually. I just feel like it's not every person who you need to give your body to. Now, who you give your body to is up to you, baby. You do what you want to do. I'm just saying you should probably be careful to not do that for the sake of getting comfortable with that person. I know for me, if I'm to divulge a little bit about myself, there was somebody in the past who I thought I was comfortable with, but I realized that there were certain conversations I couldn't have with them, certain feelings that I had that I couldn't share. And it wasn't because they did anything to make me feel like this was an unsafe place, but I just wasn't fully comfortable. However, I did have intimacy with that person. And I realized after the fact, I probably shouldn't have engaged in that way with somebody who I can't even be candid with. And this is a personal thing. Some people, they can detach and that's totally fine. For me, I realized that there is no benefit to engage in that way if I already don't feel comfortable with them. I feel like my body was trying to tell me like, hey, alarm bell, red flags, and girl, didn't he turn out to be a pathological liar? So something in my psyche was telling me red flag, red flag, red flag, run away, run away. And so, Yeah, I was kind of sad that that was Gabby's mentality, but either way, she is comfortable enough with Casey that when they went into the hideaway, they did the do or whatever, and now she feels great. Casey coming back from the hideaway, he said this was the best day in my Love Island career. Love Island career. I did not like that he said that. It just makes me feel like he's not. You remember when the girls were like, "Oh, maybe Casey's gotten all of this Playboy stuff out of his system." Absolutely not. No, we're gonna see him on season 15. Like Casey will absolutely be back. But either way, at this point in their connection, it does seem like they've made a lot of strides. I will say that Casey so far has proven me wrong. The true test with Casey, if he genuinely is into Gabby, is whether or not his head will turn when somebody he's actually into comes into the villa. Because respectfully, I don't think that the next bombshell is somebody who he would have been interested in. But if somebody comes in who tickles Casey's fancy, if he doesn't turn his head, then maybe everything he said about him and Gabby is true. So we're on to the public vote. This was quite savage. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was like, oh my gosh, so many people are going home. But I was okay with the people who left. So based on the public vote, Elma got most popular girl and Luca got most popular guy. Elma kind of surprised me. With Luca, I'm not surprised that he got favorite guy. I think at this point, he's my favorite guy too. Just the switch up with Luca has been so beneficial. I think he's one of the people who are going to have a better post Love Island experience than his first time compared to like almost everybody in this villa. So good on him. The people who got the least amount of votes were Tina, Kaz, Naz, and Montel. A part of me was surprised that Catherine wasn't in the bottom. I'm glad she's still here, but I just thought, because of the run that she's having so far and because she's kind of been put in this like side character box, maybe people wouldn't vote for her, but enough people voted. Thank you to everybody who voted for Catherine. I appreciate you. My girl is still here. So it's up to the favorites to pick who they want to save, and they can only save one person. I'm thinking 3 people are going home in one go. Oh my gosh. And guess who they save? They saved Tina. And they saved Tina because at this point, Tina still has an opportunity to connect with Scott, while Naz, I mean, it's over for you. And then with Kaz and Montel, they kind of have found each other so they can go home together. Do I see them actually pursuing something on the outside? I think they're going to try, but realistically, I don't know if this was anything that was going to last outside of Love Island. Maybe they'll do like the press circuit for a few weeks, but I don't see it lasting long. So all those people are dumped, and then Tina is going back to the main villa with everybody else, right? And so Scott has another like revelation, and he's like, you know what? I think that I now need to really focus on Tina, and I need to, not worry about the pressure, not worry about what people are saying, and just focus on her. And I'm thinking, had anybody even said anything about Scott and Tina up until he voiced his own concerns? I'm just really confused about Scott. And I came into this season liking Scott. I didn't know him from his original season, and maybe that's my own blunder. But I'm just like, Scott, what's going on with you? It's giving, I'm afraid of commitment. It's giving, I don't know, fearful avoidant. I don't know. I'm not going to put nothing on him. I'm not his psychologist. I did study psychology, but I'm not his psychologist. So it's not my place to diagnose anything. But I'm just like, why is he so finicky? Why is he so, And I'm glad that Tina had a moment to herself and she was like, is this switch up genuine? Like, what's going on? And I think even Casey and Luca, of all people, were the ones who were like, I wish he would just be honest with Tina. Clearly, there's a reason why he's getting cold feet with this whole thing. It's not a matter of pressure. It's a matter of him just not feeling it. So he needs to just be honest with her and say, hey, girl, it's not there for me and you. But he won't do it. And then he's going to get cold feet again after he just said he's going to focus on her. And it's like, you should have taken that get out of jail free card the first time around when Luca threw your ass under the bus. Yes, it was unsavory the way that it happened, but at least he could have gotten out scot-free, pun intended. So then we get 2 more bombshells. And at this point, I'm thinking the producers have a personal vendetta against me. Me, yes. They said, Queenie, we don't like her. Let's send in yet another guy she doesn't like. First, they sent in Casey. Then they sent in Montel. And now we have Sammy. If you did not know who Sammy was, he's from season 10. He's 23 years old. And he's known for saying tasty a lot. Too many times for my own comfort. But yeah, he won the season with Jess. And that to me still irks my entire soul because the man didn't even like her. He didn't even like her. I think there was one time on social media under his post, she said like, oh, love you or something like that. And he was just like, back at ya. The way I would crawl inside myself and die. What do you mean back at you? You better say I love you too and call me by name. Oh gosh. But yeah, I was so irritated to see him back. However, he is connecting with Elma and I'm like, you know what? Elma kind of needed a lifeline, so I guess I'm happy for her. The other bombshell that came in is Danielle. She's from season 3 and she's 29 years old. And so she invited, both of the bombshells, they invited Curtis and Elma to have a sleepover in the hideaway, right? So with Danielle, even the announcer is like making a joke that basically nobody knows her. So we, the public, don't really remember her, but some of the Love Islanders do. So, she has some friends in there. Off the bat, Elma and Sammy, they're getting on like a house on fire. And then I saw some tea on TikTok that apparently, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, because I did not watch Towie. I didn't watch The Only Way is Essex, right? But apparently on there, he wasn't really keen on Elma like that. And then he actually dated her friend. So now on the show, they're saying, oh, we've always had like a thing for each other. We've just never really pursued it for real. And I'm thinking, that's not what the streets are saying, but okay. And then with Danielle, immediately Curtis tells her, I'm a one-woman man. And so it kind of sounds like he's saying, I'm focused on Ekin-Su. Boy, was I wrong. As they keep on talking, he's like, oh yeah, she and I have a lot in common. He's talking about Danielle now. She and I have a lot in common. Maybe I did close things off too soon. He then says, because I barely even know the girl. Imagine, hold on. Because the way my jaw was on the floor. Imagine going from we're closed off, my eyes are only on you, to I barely even know the girl. Kick me in the teeth. Like, what? So he said that to her and, they were getting comfy cozy or whatever. He wasn't being overtly flirty, but he's definitely giving her the impression that there is a chance to get to know each other romantically. The next day in the morning, he's like fiddling with her rings or something like that. And Elma perceives that as like them touching hands or whatever. So when everybody gets back to the villa, Ekin-Su has been kicking off. This is news to Curtis. She has been like, why would this girl come in and pick my guy? Why would she do that? And before Curtis had left, he kissed her. He kissed Ekin-Su and he said, I'm so confused. And apparently Ekin-Su took that as he's confused about their connection, when I think what he meant was he's confused why he would be picked, knowing that he's made it clear that he's closed off. So now that he has returned, the question is like, okay, how was he behaving in the hideaway? And Elma is like, well, he was being a gentleman. Like he did well. He didn't, cross any boundaries per se, but there was some hand touching. This turns into a whole drama for Ekin-Su. Because Ekin-Su feels like she's being mugged off. She's being disrespected. She's only had eyes for him. She's been very loyal as soon as she came into the villa. How dare he do this to her? This is just the worst thing ever. And I'm thinking, Ekin-Su, you have been finding problem after problem after problem with Curtis. And quite frankly, even though I'm giving Curtis a side eye as well, based on some things that he said a little bit later on, it is kind of hard to have to reassure somebody who is consistently looking for problems, because I'm never going to be good in your eyes. I'm never going to be somebody who you're fully going to trust. So what's the point in me even trying to be trustworthy? Truly, what's the point? So there's this whole back and forth like, oh, do you like her? Do you not like her? Do you like her? Do you not like her? Right? And Curtis is being deliberately vague. And he tells the guys that, based on some arguments they've had before, he feels like it was premature for him to close things off. You know what I'm saying? I do think that it was premature. How do you close things off wasn't it like a week? slow your roll. Okay. There are so many more people coming. Okay. So he's now telling the guys this, but with Ekin-Su, he's still making it seem like, oh no, I'm not really into Danielle. And then he talks with Danielle and he's like, oh, I'm interested in getting to know you and whatever. And so he gets pulled up on things, right? And he tells Ekin-Su, oh God, what argument was that they had? Because they had quite a few. Basically, she was kicking off. She started crying. Now, I saw nary a tear. Not a single tear did I see come from Ekin-Su for at least 5 minutes. I'm going to be honest. I was looking for the tear that I didn't see him. But finally, some tears fell and I said, okay, fine. Maybe she really is crying. So they had a conversation and she was like yelling at him and whatnot. And then she basically was like, if you're gonna end it, like just end it now. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, well, we're gonna end up just having the same conversation in the morning, so like it's whatever. And then it takes a turn because he starts to talk about how he wants to talk to his mom. And she's like, yeah, I also want to talk to my mom. And he's like, yeah, there was a time too when I didn't talk to my mom because whatever. He cut her off for some kind of reason. And then they kiss. And this is when I was like, what the hell is what is going on? What is going on with this couple? Because I wanted to believe in them. I wanted to believe that Curtis is a new man, but Curtis is kind of giving the same guy he was on season 5, because this same Curtis is the one who told Amy, you could be my half girlfriend. What the hell is that? What the hell is a half girlfriend? You could keep that shit. What? Keep that. I'm either a full girlfriend or you're out of my face. So that half girlfriend guy is the same guy who this time around is saying, oh, we're closed off, but simultaneously, I barely know the girl. He also in that conversation said something that I didn't notice until I went on TikTok. He said, I feel like you're not being genuine or whatever. Like, I don't even know you. I never watched you on TV. Some of y'all did your investigative work. Thank you very much. And in his previous speech, he said, I had seen you on TV and I had my preconceived notions about you, but I realized that you're not that. So which one is it, Curtis? Because you're out here saying Ekin-Su is not being genuine. She's putting on a facade, but you're now saying duplicitous things. So I'm looking at both of y'all like, what really is the deal with y'all? Like, I'm quite confused. But anyways, it turns into a situation where Ekin-Su says point blank, no, she didn't say this. Grace said it. Grace said, did you tell Danielle that it's like locked off? And he was like, no, I didn't say that. And Ekin-Su was right beside him. And so she's like, well, go and tell her that it's over. Like, go tell her that it's done. And he's taking his time. Listen, if it really was closed off, you don't need to convince this man to do it. He will just go and do it. And that's why I almost gave him props when he was in the hideaway, because I thought he was saying to Danielle, I'm a one-woman man. So what I'm pursuing Ekin-Su, I'm only going to pursue Ekin-Su. But basically what he's saying is, when I'm focused on a person, anybody, I will only focus on that person. So at this point, if you're not giving Ekin-Su that undivided attention, to me, I would assume, okay, so you've already diverted to somebody else. And that's basically going to be the case. So Ekin-Su's like, go tell this girl that it's done. Before he gets a chance to, there is a recoupling situation. Sammy decides to steal Elma. Yay. Elma's finally smiling. I will say it's nice to see her be in a situation where her feelings are reciprocated. She even said when they were in the hideaway, she would have made out with Sammy all night long. I'm like, okay, it's nice to see her be giddy about somebody. Now, I don't know if you should be giddy about Sammy though, but whatever. I'm happy for you, girl, regardless. Then we have Danielle. She decides to steal Curtis. And this becomes a whole thing because the girls immediately start to screw up their faces and stuff. And Grace is like, this is why you have to shut things down. This is why you have to shut things down. Why did I have Ella Thomas in my head? Shut it down. This is why you need to shut it down. Shut it down, man. Because then recouplings come or dumpings come and you get separated from your person because you weren't clear. So the girls, they get up after the recoupling and they're like, by the way, Danielle, our energy is not for you. It's for Curtis. 8 down. I love that they did that. I'm not gonna lie, I love that they did that. I felt like, damn, Curtis is kind of being like hounded right now. But I appreciated that they were like, oh, girl, don't worry. You're good. You did what you had to do as a bombshell. Our problem is with him. And so immediately after that, Catherine is like, like, it's not that. She's trying to tell him that they're not going to like jump on him. And he feels like the grilling is coming. So he's like, just do it now. Just everybody get their words out now. And she's like, no, that's not the case. It's just you mishandled the situation. And sure enough, he did. He really did. Then Ekin-Su, she put on her best acting chops because I didn't believe it. Y'all let me know if you believed it. But she sat down with Curtis. And she said, I'm mugged off. I feel like you strung me along. And then Curtis, I don't know why the hell he would say this. He was like, no, I didn't string you along. And she's like, yeah, I feel like all of it was a lie. And he's like, no, all of it wasn't a lie. But I definitely did string you along near the end. Oh, you're done. You're done. I don't care if you strung me along for 2 seconds or 2 hours or 2 days or 2 weeks. The fact that you're even admitting to the fact that you were stringing me along, you're done. After that conversation, I think Ekin-Su threw a drink. It didn't really land on him. It didn't land on him well, but she threw a drink. She stormed off. It was a whole thing. She said, I never want to deal with you again. That's not true. But she said, I never want to deal with you again. And I'm thinking, Curtis, you really looked into this girl's face and you said, yes, I strung you along near the end. I mean, at least he admitted to like being a dirty, stinking liar. But like, that is a wild thing to say. That's similar to when Scott said India gave him the ick. Like, there are certain things that you should not be able to work past. You say I gave you the ick, we're done. You say you strung me along, we're done. We're done. After that conversation, he pulls Danielle for a chat. And what does he tell Danielle? Before the recoupling, I was supposed to come and tell you that I was closing things off with you romantically. But I couldn't do that. Why? Because I didn't want to do that. It is as simple as that. I feel like in life, we try to fill in the blanks for people when we have no business filling in the blanks. People know what they're doing. Scott is one of them. We're going to get into him. Curtis is another one. Curtis knew damn well he had no intentions of closing things off completely with Danielle. And he tried to make it seem like, because the guys would be like, oh, so are you then closed off with Ekin-Su? Because he was like, oh, I feel bad for whatever happened with Ekin. He couldn't say the words closed off. But he's like, oh, I'm going to focus on her. I'm going to focus on her. And then they're like, oh, so are you not going to talk to Danielle? He said, I could talk to whoever I want to talk to. But when Ekin-Su tells you, hey, go shut this down with somebody else, all of a sudden you buckle. Okay, yeah. If that's what you want me to say, I'll go. If that's what you want me to say. Stand 10 toes. Curtis, you're a big man. At your big age, you should be able to know what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Don't let anybody tell you what you need to be doing. Or don't let anybody put you off your square. Stand in your decisions. Like, he knew he didn't want to shut things down with Danielle. Just say that. Just say that to Ekin-Su. Maybe things wouldn't have kicked off the way that they did if you would have just said that. I was quite confused with this whole situation, but the verdict is still out on whether or not Ekin-Su and Curtis are still going to work things out. I mean, she said she doesn't want to deal with him ever again, but I don't know. We then get a text that another bombshell is coming in. I finally can be excited about one of the male bombshells. Omar has come to the villa. Omar is 26 years old and he's from the previous season. It is to be noted that on his season, he and Grace had some kind of connection going on and it was a problem with Joey. Joey was not happy about that, not for 1 second. And so he kind of feels like there's unfinished business between him and Grace. Now, I don't know if I misheard, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Did Grace say she was trying to talk to him before coming back on the show? I feel like there was some kind of like correspondence going on between Grace and Omar. Not anything super deep, but it seemed like she was open to the possibility, right? So he invites Grace and Catherine on a brunch date, and the first date is with Grace. And Grace says, it's going to take a lot for me to turn my head, but right now I'm focused on Luca. I was kind of happy that she said that because at this point with Omar, if you've tried it on the outside lately and if you had your time in the villa, what's the point of trying to go back there? I have yet to see a situation where somebody on the outside, somebody tries something on the outside and then they come in and it works on the inside. It could be working right now with Harriet and Ronnie, but honestly, that whole thing seems sketchy to begin with. I don't know if I fully believe that they were even broken up in the first place. But rarely do people have this like unfinished business on the outside and then they end up finishing it on the inside, as in being together. So yeah, when she was like, I'm going to focus on Luca right now, I was like, yes, girl, as you should. He then had a conversation with Catherine, and I gotta say, it is so nice to see Catherine genuinely smile. Oh my gosh. I feel like I haven't seen this girl's like true beauty come out because she's just been in the corners. Like, oh, so finally she's happy. She's so excited to see Omar. She has seen him on the outside before. They didn't really try anything, but they have a little bit of a rapport, right? This is where, like I said, I feel like Catherine be yapping just a little bit too much. Because in this conversation, she was getting so excited. They're talking about kids and she's like, oh my gosh, look at us talking about our future. Catherine, don't get involved too quickly. You don't know this man. He hasn't given you any kind of reassurance. Like, babe, slow your roll, please and thank you. Please slow your roll. But I did like that she was able to have a little bit of a flirt and he was giving it back to her. It was nice. It was refreshing. When they get back into the villa, I don't know if Omar expressed real interest in anybody else. I know he had a conversation with Ekin-Su, but would Ekin-Su even be into Omar? I don't think so. But she did say something where she was like, oh, it's kind of bold of you to come and talk to me first. And I'm like, okay, you know what, Ekin-Su, I'm glad that you rate yourself. I want to have some of the confidence that Ekin-Su has, if it is genuine confidence, because like, I don't think that I would ever like say to a guy like, well, you're bold for coming to talk to me. I rate you. Like, I believe in my sauce, but not that much. I feel like that's a lot. But anyways, he was like, yeah, you do have an intimidating persona, but I like that. I like a strong woman. Yeah, I like that about you, Omar. So basically his top picks, if you want to include Ekin-Su, are Ekin-Su, Catherine, and Grace. Grace does have a conversation with Luca because the guys were kind of winding him up when Omar came in. He didn't know who Omar was, allegedly. And so the guys are like, oh, they do have history, you know. Oh, there was a whole bust up with Joey and whatever. But then Grace tells him, you know what? Like, I really like what we have going on. I'm solely focused on you right now. I don't think there's unfinished business, honestly. Like, whatever happened to me, it's in the past. And so, like, she was really good at reassuring. And let's actually speak about reassurance for a second. I like the fact that whatever Grace, if what Grace is saying is true, I like that whatever was in her mind, she just said it. Because I feel like some of these people, they want reassurance or they want to give reassurance, but in fear of like saying the wrong thing or maybe coming off like a wet wipe, just being like too simpish, they keep their cards to their chest. Ekin-Su is a prime example. So when Curtis left, she said, oh, I wanted more reassurance from him, right? But she's never actually depicted to Curtis what reassurance looks like for her. The one valid thing he did say was, I don't actually know you that well. I still have to get to know you. So I found it interesting that she gave a very clear example to the girls of what reassurance looked like for her, but she wasn't able to tell that to Curtis. There was even certain moments where she was like, I want to say something to you, but I feel like basically she was feeling overwhelmed by her emotions, and so she decided to just walk away from the conversation. If you want a genuine relationship with this person, you're gonna have to just say how you feel. You're gonna have to open up. You're gonna have to be vulnerable. So I did like that Grace was very clear, point blank, saying, hey, this is where I stand with you. I like where things are going. You have nothing to worry about. Like, she's giving him the kind of reassurance that I'm sure he was looking for, but she's also exemplifying what kind of reassurance she would need in return if he was then in the same position. I'm riding with Luca and Grace right now. They might be my top couple, honestly. I'm not mad at it. I'm really not mad at it. So we fast forward to the recoupling. Omar gets to go first because he's the newest guy. Thankfully, he picks Catherine. Now, I hope that Catherine is not his default choice. I would hate for that to be her story. I feel like that's already what's going on with her. Could I see potential with them? Maybe. I do think that their personalities would kind of suit. I'm just not sure if Omar has really put his interest in Grace to rest. And I think because he came in saying that there is unfinished business, if Grace even gives him an inch, he's going to take a mile. So that's my worry with that couple. Then we have Luca, who picks Grace. Like I said, I'm rocking with it for now. Ronnie picks Harriet. And it was a very nice speech. I don't want to root for Ronnie. I don't. But it was so nice to hear this man just finally be honest and say, you know, the man that I'm becoming in relating with you is the man that I want to be. Like, I want to show up the best way possible for you. I want to show you that I'm a changed man. I want to show you that I can be loyal in a relationship. Like, whatever you want, like I will be there for you. Like, what, it was just so nice. I thought he was gonna cry. It felt like his voice was kind of cracking a little bit, and I said, Ronnie, is this the season of redemption? Like, oh my gosh. He didn't cry, but Harriet did cry. How could she not? I was close. I didn't, because I remembered it was still Ronnie talking. But I was like, Ronnie, you know what? You got a few brownie points from me from that speech. Then we have Casey, who picks Gabby. I think right now they're coasting. Because of Casey's reputation, which it seems like he's a little bit proud of, I just don't know if this is somebody we can trust yet. Gabby is all in at this point, and I'm glad that she has a genuine connection in there. I do think that Casey likes her, but is Casey going to do right by her in the long run? I don't know. Then we have Sammy, who picks Elma. With them, I do like the vibe that they have going on. I do like that there's like a giddiness in their relationship. The thing that does concern me with them is the age gap. So like I said, Sammy is 23. If I'm not mistaken, Elma should be 32. That's 9 years. And although 9 years isn't bad, well, it depends who you ask. It depends who you ask. Because okay. I don't know. It's up to your interpretation whether or not 9 years is bad. But I think, like, coming into this, if I'm not mistaken, Elma said she's looking for something long-term. She's looking for like a partnership. She wants to settle down eventually. I don't know if Sammy specifically, and definitely at the age of 23, is going to be on that type of time. And it's funny because Sammy came in and he was moving around the villa and he was like, I don't get why all these girls are concerned with age, because a lot of them are kind of up there now. Like, when you're in your 30s, you can't really play around like you used to if you're ready to settle down and have your family and whatever. Like, if you're on the party tip, then do you, girl. Do you. But if you are really trying to settle down, messing with a 23-year-old Sammy specifically, I don't know if it fully makes sense for Elma, but they do have a great connection. They do have a similar sense of humor. They are genuinely interested in each other. I think for the villa's sake, it's worth exploring, but I hope that Elma manages her expectations, manages her feelings, because we know she can fall hard and fast. And so I don't want her to be blindsided when Sammy is like, oh, this was just like a fun thing for me. Like, I don't know that I'm ready for what you're ready for. Then the last person we see stand up is Curtis. And Curtis has given us this long, drawn out, well, you know, somebody told me they don't want to talk to me ever again, but somebody else came in and we have so much in common. And, you know, I'm looking for the love of my life, the mother of my kid, whatever, this long spiel. And I'm just like, is this man really torn? He admitted to stringing Ekin-Su on in the last few days, or in the latter part of their relationship. He also said that the arguments have just put him off of her and whatever, and you're still contemplating picking her. She threw a drink at you and you're still contemplating picking her. I'm quite confused. You say that she's been inauthentic or whatever, but you still want to pursue that person. You say you like her spicy personality. You like the fact that she's so fiery and whatever, but when that fire shows up, you're put off. You don't like it. What is what, Curtis? Like, what is what? Danielle has come in. She has shown him pretty much undivided attention. I mean, Ron is kind of in the equation for her, but I think that that's just her backup right now. And she has, like, they've had conversation where he's like, honestly, we're like two peas in a pod. It just works. Go there. I don't know if this was a producer trick, like if they were just trying, because we were left on a freaking cliffhanger, of course. I'm just like, sweetie, the choice is clear. If you pick Ekin-Su, whatever comes your way, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all. Speaking of not wanting to hear it, why did Scott, this was before the recoupling is just coming back to me right now. Why did Scott say to one of the girls, I feel like it was Catherine, but I don't quite remember. He said to her, he doesn't think that his feelings will be able to progress more with Tina. And I'm just like, I'm telling you, the guys in this villa, they know. Guys in general, they know. And I just have to reiterate, let's stop filling in the blanks for these people. Because I'm remembering Naz. Oh, I'm a slow burn. You're not a slow burn. You don't like Catherine. Scott, oh, I just don't know. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling whatever. I'm not quite sure. And now he's saying, no, actually, my feelings have reached their peak. It's not going quite any further. And then Curtis, oh, I just don't know who I want to pick. I just don't. Stop. Like, these guys know what they want to do. They know who they want to pursue. And again, it pains me to have to quote Casey, but Casey and Luca were the two guys who were like, these guys know what they want to do. Them pretending like they're conflicted, they're whatever, it's a ruse. It's absolutely a ruse. Men at the end of the day, people at the end of the day know what they want to do. I think the only thing that makes people a little bit weary to make a clear stance in the show is the threat of being dumped. But Scott, you know what you want to do. Curtis, you know what you want to do. And you better pick Danielle. So if I'm to hypothesize who he's going to pick, honestly, the safest route would be to go with Danielle. I think that there's already so much baggage that comes with his connection with Ekin-Su. It kind of would be like beating a dead horse at this point. I can't be upset at somebody like Harriet going back into the cycle if everybody's doing that same thing. I mean, here's Curtis and Ekin-Su doing this weird like toxic cycle thing. And oddly enough, they remind me of like an older version of Nicole and Kieran. Because I feel like Kieran was that calm guy who like he could be confrontational if he needed to, but he doesn't like that. And Curtis is the same. And then you had Nicole who every day, Kieran, just she was upset about everything. Who were you talking to? Who did this? You got asked on a date as if that was up to him. Like just projecting a lot of her insecurities. And I feel like I see that in Ekin-Su. And ultimately that relationship dissolved. Now, I don't know what the reason was. But if I was to assume, I do think that some of the issues they had in the villa did transfer into the real world. And I think that with Ekin-Su and Curtis, the same thing would happen if they were to take their relationship seriously. He might as well go with the new connection. It's actually a genuine connection. They're starting on a blank slate. I think that's the best option, honestly. I think that's what they should do. So the blogs have been talking. And apparently, this might be a spoiler because I don't know when it's going to be shown on the show. But apparently Scott has left the premises. Scott, I hope before you left, you told Tina that you're not feeling her. Because if this man just up and left without telling this girl, I swear she's going to wait another 9 years being like, it's okay. Scott is waiting for me. Scott is waiting for me. We have another 9 years to be away from each other and rekindle. Oh gosh. At this point, I think we should just accept the fact that if it didn't work on the outside, it's probably not going to work on the inside. So Scott, if you go out there, you better leave Tina alone. You better not hit up India. I wonder if India is even going to give him the time of day, the way that things panned out with them. But I'm ready to see who Curtis picks. I'm ready to see what Scott's going to do on his alleged departure. Just so much going on this season. And as much as Ekin-Su is annoying me with all of her theatrics, she's giving us things to talk about. I will say week 3 was a hot week. I absolutely loved it. Hopefully you guys are still enjoying the show. I think we're about like halfway there. So listen, I'm fully in. I can't even make bets on who's going to win at this point because there's just so many different storylines going on. And I'm fully invested in like 80% of them. So I think a lot of people have a good chance in winning. I think Ekin-Su's stock is actually going down, which is a surprise for me. I think Luca has a good chance, especially if he's with Grace. I think even Casey has a good chance, honestly. Sammy already won the friggin' show. There's a lot of viable contenders to win the whole thing. So I'm definitely excited to see how the rest of the season goes. You guys let me know how you thought about these last few episodes. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with what I said? Who are your faves? Do you have new faves? Have you gone on the Luca train like me? Because I'm still surprised that my opinions of him have changed. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section. As always, tune into the reality recap every week on Tuesdays where we break down Love Island All-Stars. I hope to see you in the next one. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.